Oh,
Hey everybody, Lauren and I are here. Day 10 of the challenge, right? Day 10, day 10, day 10. If you've gotten all the way through this, you're awesome. And you can always go all the way back. They're available on our YouTube page and on our podcast page. Or you can actually go to our website at 10indicators.com and you'll have access to all 10. So we've really enjoyed this time with you. Hopefully you've taken you've gone through the liberties of actually like the process. Hey, I've got my wheel, I've colored in what scores we had. I've had conversations with my leadership team about what does a perfect score look like, so then we can all hold that image of perfection all together, because that is one of the issues that we haven't talked a lot about. But the whole point of this wheel is like, well, what would high performance look like from a mission and vision standpoint, from a quality work of the school standpoint, right? Each indicator has that mental model, and I guarantee you, if you're not sharing that mental model out loud, it's probably not going to happen, right? Because everybody needs to be a part of your vision of what that image is, and you got to hold that image all the time up here, and that's a big part, because when you do your score might be down here. That's okay, right? And then you're going to do a step by step, to get there. But never, never, never lower your goal. And I guarantee you, as you get closer to this, you're going to be like, oh, that's not high enough, and you're going to take it through the roof. That's even off the screen, right, Lauren? Just out of the wheel. But that's what you need to do. Create a vision of success, right? What does this high performance look like? Where are we now? That's why you're taking the assessment. And then what are the action steps we're going to take to get from here to there? And then, slowly but surely, it's not going to happen overnight. Some of them may take 6 to 9 months. Some of them may take 2 years in order to get to that point, right? But the whole purpose is I've got clarity in my vision for the future. I understand my reality now, and everybody's aware of the strategies and the steps that we're going to take in order to get there. So day 10, take the time, go back through. You have lifetime access to these. They're on our podcast. You can go back and listen, but maybe most importantly, buy the book, because we actually tell you like how to do it in each of the steps, right? Or at least how the best school leaders are doing it. And there's nothing in this book that I have not applied myself as a principal executive director. And this indicator 10, we're talking about governance. And I was a board member for 10 years, or not 6 years, sorry. And I trained boards for over 10. And I was when I worked for the state of North Carolina, I was the governance, expert. And I've learned under really great governance leaders, Marcy Cornell Fice and Dr. Brian Carpenter and Dr. James Gunner. Like, those are huge, huge governance leaders in the area of charter school effectiveness. So this book, like the governance chapter, honestly, Lauren, it probably could be its own book, itself, because it's really got a lot of really great content and ideas and strategies. So Lauren's going to pull up the 10. I think there's like 9 substandards here, right? 3, 6, yeah, there's 9 of them. And so we're going to talk about a couple that are really important, because we've noticed that the scores here, right? So the overall average, score is about a 7 out of 9 in terms of this indicator, of all the people that have taken it to this point, over 460. And there's a few that are very, consistent in terms of their low score. Now remember, the board's job is to govern, right? And that's a how well conversation, right? How well is the education plan meeting needs of our kids? How well is the finance plan? And this whole aspect of well versus will, I learned this directly from Brian Carpenter, right? The management team talks about how we will do it. The board asks questions about how well, right? It's their job to govern the entity. And charter schools are nonprofit entities governed by a volunteer set of boards. And board members have to have clarity in what's their role to the goal. Whatever those long-term goals are, that long-term vision are, it's the board's responsibility to help the organization get there, but they don't do any of it. And that's where most boards get into trouble, is that they end up taking on a role that's not a governance role, it's more of a management role, and it starts to create a fracture. So this last indicator bullet here, focusing on building a strong and healthy relationship with the head of school, is so important because nothing's going to happen without trust. No trust, no unity, no progress. So really, this is the ninth, bullet, but I'd put it right up there at the top because I got to know what I'm supposed to do. That's my role and my responsibilities and my expectations. But then I also have to, build relationships with that head of school. And what Lauren and I have found is that the average tenure of a principal, just any principal really, in North Carolina was 2.7 years prior to COVID. And we guarantee it's shorter now because there's some schools that we've helped as consultants that have had 5 or 6 transitions of their leadership in less than 5 years. And that's never going to create a healthy organization. But if you think about if the school leader is turning over every 3 years, and your board, based upon the bylaws, are probably rolling off every 3 years, there is the potential to drift far away from why your school actually was initially created. So it's important that there's sustainability and strong relationships, right, and growth as a board and also as a head of school, both with their single jobs, but both with their combined job, and that's to move the organization forward. Lauren, any thoughts around that? I know you were just talking about one strategic aspect of the book. Inside the book, there's always these high performance, strategic tips. So Lauren was just, talking about one. It kind of lines up right here, right? The board only meets once a month. Yep.
I'll share with you right here, we've got these high performance strategies and all within the book, and it's just little great nuggets of easy things that you can take away and implement immediately. And one of those was following up with your board members after you share with them the executive report.
Yep.
And I just think that check-in is so key. It helps build accountability. It helps foster that relationship. The board is, you have confidence in the board that they've read the report. They've asked you any questions in advance. It builds trust and confidence in the board's decision-making process.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually, if you get a copy of the book, that means you have a copy of all the templates that we talk about and use in the book. And one of the templates that we have that we'll make sure is in there is our executive director report. We build, it's the one I use as a head of an organization. And it's based upon what are the key indicators of success, what are the performance indicators that a school should be reporting on per month or per quarter, whatever it may be. And then what Lauren's sharing is, okay, as the head of school, you get the report done 5 to 7 days in advance, you shoot it out, and then you reach out to each of your board members. Now, I got 15 board members currently, so that's a lot. But some of you maybe have 5 or 7, but you just, text them, hey, the report is in your hands. Please make sure you read it. Do you have any questions? So we can talk about them prior to the meeting, because there's nothing worse than 2 things happening. One is the board for the first time opens the report when the board meeting starts. That's not gonna create great decision making. And 2, they're gonna ask a question in an open session that may or may not get the confidence in the head of school, right? They, heads of schools don't like to be surprised, but nor do board members, right? So it's a constant working relationship, and clarity and expectations is going to be so important. So board members got to be prepared for their 1 meeting per month, their annual, or their regular board meeting, and the head of school needs to be informing them and educating them and making sure that they're aware of the progress we made, because wherever the data tells me, that should be my action step. I should be saying, oh, well, I need a interventionist because our reading scores are low, and I was able to move money in the budget, and here I showed you how I did it, right? Just educate them on what you did, because if you leave problems up to the governing board to solve, 1, you can't complain about them because you asked them to do it, and 2, you're probably not going to get a strategy and a plan that you're ready for as a head of school. So it's a constant conversation. And in the book, I actually talk about these 4 strategies to build trust and relationships, common vision goals, set clear expectations, grow together, and lead, L-E-A-D, leave emotions at the door. This means as a board member, right, you wear your board hat as best as you can, and you focus on governance. And as a head of school, you can't get upset when someone asks a question. I mean, it's just, you just cannot do it. So this chapter is really, really important for the success, because all failures of a charter school can be traced back to the actions or the non-actions of the governing board. The governing board is so important. So the other bullet Lauren and I wanted to stress is the recruitment of effective board members. And this was one of the lowest standards we found so far. And so we believe that, your goals, right? So you cast your vision. We're going to be the highest performing school in the state or in the county or in the area, or we're going to be STEM or whatever it is, right? I've set my vision. Now I've got my goals. What are the goals that I'm going to achieve through, academic performance? Maybe it's, raising money, right? Whatever your goals are set, right? So now I've got my vision, I've got my goals. And those goals, those long-term goals, should be driving the recruitment of your next board. Now, what ends up happening is someone reads the bylaws and says, oh my gosh, we're supposed to have 7 board members and 3 just rolled off. Hey, do you want to be on the board? Do you want to be on the board? Recruiting board members should be an annual process that's very, very intentional and lined up. And again, when you buy the book and you get the resources that come with the book, our board recruitment plan is in there, and you'll have a copy of it and you can start to follow it. But we think that the best board recruitment process is, first, it starts having them on your committees, right? And so if you don't have a governance committee in place, your finance committee in place, like, this is the best place to start to recruit future board members, because you get to see how they operate. You get to see their, dedication to your organization. You get to see their mannerisms, right? So that's a great first step for any potential board members, is to sit on a committee, and it should be lined up to whatever their strengths are. It also helps to build succession planning, right? The second best recruitment tool is that, who do you know that I should know, right? It's your going out to meetups and B&I events and things like that. You say, hey, I'm a consultant, but I'm here on behalf of my charter school. We're always looking for board members that line up to 1, 2, 3, skills, whatever those skills are. But I only know that because I know what the goals are that we're trying to achieve. And I know who's rolling off the board because I know what I have to replace, right? So we just say the easiest thing to do is to build a succession plan for yourself. So if you're the board chair, you should be building a succession plan. If you're the treasurer, you should be building a succession plan for you as a treasurer. But board recruitment is so important. And it's just as important as recruiting really strong teachers, because you want a cohesive, well-rounded, values-based, right, group of people to help the organization move forward. Lauren, what else you want to add to the recruitment piece, or the recruitment or the committees? I know you were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. My last thought that I was having was around this, the board expectations. I think depending on different scenarios that may be occurring within your school, these expectations can change, and it's so important that the board is educated on that. I know we have a lot of schools going through the charter renewal process right now, and the board, needs to be educated on what's the expectation as we're going through this renewal process. We're also assisting schools with charter applications. There's a huge expectation piece for board members that are going through the charter application piece. So just constantly educating them on what's expected of them, what is their role in this scenario, and what's my responsibility there.
Yeah, I mean, having a nice board member agreement around these, roles, responsibilities, and expectations is really important. And again, buy the book, you're going to get a copy of it. So we've got a template for you that you can start with. And Lauren is she is right on here. If I'm not clear with my role and my expectations, I'm going to lean into a role and expectations that I believe fit, right? And then now you have a rogue board member, right? But they have good intentions. But because of it's assumed that they know what they're responsible for. They're just going to adhere to it. And that's not the case. You should have annual board training. It's the most important board meeting of the year, is having some sort of annual retreat and a strong orientation plan for your new and coming board members. Everybody needs to know, hey, you're going to meet 10 times a year in regular meetings, and this is what being prepared looks like and feels like. And you're going to serve on one standing committee, and you may lead one. I mean, whatever it may be, right? You serve there, and then you may have an expectation that they're in your top three of the tithing. You say, hey, you don't have to give us all your money, but we just ask that we're in your top three, because we're always looking to raise funds, and it really looks, better from a fundraising standpoint when our board is 100% bought into the annual campaign or the capital campaign, whatever you're trying to do. But you got to be intentional, right? It's intentional action is what's going to drive the strength of your charter school around your board recruitment. Because if you need something, I mean, I've sat in many meetings when schools were short funds, and they'll say, oh, maybe we can just fundraise $500,000. I'm like, oh yeah, do you have someone on the board who's actually done that? Well, no. It's okay, well, then you can't do that yet, but you could go find someone who could help oversee a capital campaign, right? Or it can help you hire someone who could do that to raise the funds. And I love people who raise money through bake sales and stuff, but bake sales don't create 6-figure annual campaigns. Like, you need people that really know how to do it, and that's what board members should be doing. Really intentional with the recruitment. So, all right, so that's all 10. So you got through all 10. You're going to get one more video tomorrow that is going to tell you about your next steps and how we would like you to be deeper engaged. But for now, if you haven't bought the book, you can go to Amazon right now and get a copy of it. Or you can go to 10indicators.com. There's a button right there that will give you direct access to get the book. You can get a electronic version, a hardback version, whatever, or not a hardback, it's a paperback, right? And then with that, you got all these resources. You got your Wheel of Success and a template that you can use for every single one of these indicators to help grow from here to there. So for now, make sure you've scored your indicator 10 and write down your action steps of what substandards you need to work on, and get your book and see, how can I improve these pieces right now? So thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.